Hello, guys, gals, non binary pals. I'm Avery or Hazel or Kylie,
Hello, I am Lily.
and the odds are never in our favor.
It is very true.
Today we are covering Catching Fire, or as it's officially titled, The Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Yeah, I feel like this entire movie was like, may the odds be ever in your favor, unless your name is Katniss Evergreen. Fuck you, fuck your family, hope they all burn.
It's Everdeen,
Evergreen.
not
Damn,
Evergreen.
I knew I was gonna mess that up.
so, before we get into it, obviously, spoilers for this movie and the first one. I don't know why you'd be watching this episode if you haven't seen the first one. But also, we are going to be changing up something a little bit.
Who
Lily and I
are
already
we?
talked about
Oh, yeah.
Lily. We already talked about this, but we're going to be spinning the wheel for movies at the beginning of episodes now, so you don't have to skip to the end and figure out what we are going to be doing then. So yeah, I'm going to spin the wheel now.
Let's see how long this lives.
Oh my god.
What is it?
Lily?
You know, it's not Sea of Monsters. It's not Sea of Monsters.
No. No. We talked about this before the podcast, and I said, wouldn't it be funny if the wheel landed on this?
No,
It's Joker.
I'll be joking.
So I guess we're covering Joker. Yeah, look forward to that one probably next week if I have the math right.
Or don't, I don't care.
So yeah, I guess spoilers for Catching Fire will be starting like now, I guess. Um, so, what did you think of this movie as someone who hasn't read the books?
I definitely feel it would be better than the first movie. As for like, I definitely noticed a big thing about they spent a whole less time actually in the games. Like I even noted right when they started the games, it's like wow, 3/4 of the movie is already gone.
Yeah, because the games don't actually get to complete in this movie.
Oh no, they don't. His Katniss decided to have a level 100 IQ and shot the barrier.
Oh, you think Katniss was the one with the level 100 IQ?
I mean, we both
No.
watched the. At least I know some of the things that happen in the book, and she in the movie she had no idea if that would work or not, or the timing.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the absurd things that the movie did was like having the timing of the lightning strike and all that. No, like the movie didn't explain the weak points in the barriers.
But I will have to say, for the movie's credit, that if you're going so far into nitpicking, then it must got all like the better details right that allows you to nitpick.
Yeah, it's like the majority of these movies, like are fantastic, great adaptations. I think the biggest flaw with these adaptations is that they never once showed the Avoxes.
What are those?
Basically, it was like servants in the capital who just kind of had their they were like forced into servitude and they like had their tongues taken out.
That's something I
There
don't
was
really want to see.
there was a redheaded girl in the first book who also should have appeared. It also appeared in the second book, who's not in either movie. There was a peacekeeper. I don't know if you like paid attention during that section of the Lost in Adaptation video, but there was a peacekeeper that Katniss was friends with,
Oh yeah, I remember
who,
that.
yeah, named Darius. So like that was something that was cut out of this movie as well. And then obviously like Gale's whole thing about like why he ended up getting beaten in the square like is different in the book. In the book, it's just because he doesn't realize the new peacekeepers have come in yet.
Why was it he being up in the movie? I forgot.
He tried to stop an old woman from getting beaten,
Ah,
whereas in the book, he just kind of showed up with a dead turkey on the head peacekeeper's doorstep, which with the old group would have been fine, but with this new group, absolutely not. And I like, okay, so Lily brought this up while she was watching the movie. Um, and I think the name Peacekeeper is like, it's very intentional. Like, for starters, peacekeeping isn't always necessarily a good thing. And ultimately, what the Capitol is doing here is they are trying to prevent an uprising
prevent a
by
war.
into yeah by intimidation and fear and stuff, when really a war is kind of what needs to happen.
So, and obviously, I'm just going to jump right at the end to here. We find out that, and we don't find out much about it. But we do get the mention of number 13.
Yeah, District 13. The district actually still being around was something that was teased more heavily in the book. Because like there were two kids, I believe from District 8, who Katniss and Gale ran into when they were hunting in the woods. That mentioned that District 13 was around, and Katniss didn't really believe them. But then, like later, it all kind of connects.
So, and the new game master, I find him interesting.
Plutarch Heavensby.
Because, you know, as he has no reason, sorry, I guess I should say, at the beginning, he had no real reason to become a game master. He never gave a good reason. Because you just saw the previous game master die. Not the
Mm-hmm.
first thing, not something, a position I would want to volunteer for. That's just
Yeah,
me.
it's an interesting, path for him to take. And uh like the whole goal was obviously to eventually reveal this big conspiracy to you know get Katniss out and have her be the face of the new rebellion, which we will get into with the Mockingjay movies. Um but yeah, he's a very interesting character. I will say the movie kind of portrays him a little worse than I would have liked, because like the movie implies that he was the driving force behind the change of the peacekeepers,
Hmm.
when really that's never implied in the books.
I wonder why he would do such a thing. I
I mean,
guess. Hmm,
obviously the thing there is to like, make the people more angry. Um,
I mean, more angry faster is definitely something he would want.
yeah,
So not only he's getting all the districts riled up, he is getting the capital riled up.
Yeah,
This
like
is
one of the things I loved is like how, they tried to get the games canceled, like all throughout the lead up to them, and like,
oh, I
it
loved
eventually
that
culminated. Yeah,
part.
yeah, and like eventually, like it all leads up to eventually like PETA doing like the last resort move and claiming that Katniss is pregnant, which obviously gets you know,
The
it
chanting.
gets the Capitol pub, yeah, it gets the Capitol public furious. But of course, President Snow knows it's not true, so the games go ahead anyway.
I have to say,
And
it was
this
a
is a
beautiful
thing,
lie.
yeah, and like this is a thing that happens in the books too, and actually too. As far as I know, they actually just told the rebellion that she lost the baby in the arena.
Huh. Okay, then.
So yeah, I I don't think it's mentioned in the
So
movies.
basically, as
Um,
much as they mentioned it and mentioned the previous Game Master's death.
yeah.
I
But yeah,
forgot about in the first book. Did they? Sorry, in the second book, did they mention that the previous game master? They mentioned he died, but did they mention how he died? Either choosing, regular death or eating the berries.
well, see, the thing here is like you're asking me to remember specific details about a book I haven't read in over a decade,
Hmm.
so I can't give you an answer. I'm sorry.
I want to know if like the berries were just made up for the first movie or if they actually happened in the second book.
I can't remember the specific berries, and like their nature, the fact that they're poisonous, the fact that like Katniss and Peeta like were supposed to kill themselves with them. Those berries exist in the book, but
But not about how that they put the not why do we keep going peacekeeper, the game master into the room. They locked the doors, right? But
yeah, like I can't remember that specifically, but like has been said, like the Dom pointed out, those books are written in first person.
yeah,
So anything that Katniss wasn't there for either was exclusively revealed in dialogue that was spoken to Katniss or within Katniss's presence, or
just didn't
it
happen.
yeah, or it just didn't happen, or Katniss's thoughts tell us or something. So like a lot of the stuff, a lot of the stuff they show in both this movie and in the previous movie probably would have been happening behind the scenes anyway.
So we haven't been
Um,
mentioning this one thing. The original the original author was not in the screenplay. Not the
yeah,
credits.
it's interesting. Well, not in the credits for the screenplay, which is
Yeah,
interesting because you would expect this movie to be less faithful to the book because of it.
but it wasn't.
And yeah, it might actually be more faithful. Um, because you don't have these weird, like, awkward creatures that were in, like, the Hunger Games finale that, didn't line up to their book counterpart very much at all. Um, but granted, that would have been hard to translate into the movie if they had been that accurate.
So
Um,
I remember during the ape scene, I was like, "Oh, what if the apes are friendly?" And then I realized that this is all, you know,
you were,
made by the game. It's like, oh right,
yeah,
none of this is natural.
yeah, you realize that this is the Hunger Games.
Yeah, no, I was like, The way that the apes were moving, I thought they had a more peaceful outlook, and then obviously they moved in for the kill.
Yeah,
Oh, and something about that. So the old lady,
Mags.
yeah, Mags just she knew that no matter what she said, they would not want to leave her behind. So she just did it anyway.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that's accurate to what happened in the books too. Um, it's kind of unfortunate too, and like obviously it seems like she was in on the whole plan to get Katniss out of the arena because like as I can't remember if it was Plutarch or Haymitch that said it, but like one of them said like half the tributes were in on the plan to screw over the games.
Yeah. Um.
And it wasn't mentioned in this movie, but Haymitch was the winner of the second quarter
Oh
quell. That was
yeah.
the 50th Hunger Games. And in that one, he like in that one there were double the amount of tributes.
No wonder he became an alcoholic.
Yeah. And if I'm remembering correctly, the way that he ends up winning also relied on the force field as well. Um, basically, um, there was like this giant chasm at one point, and like near it, at some point far down it, the force field had like at some point the force field appeared far down in the chasm, and if you threw something down there, it would actually bounce back up. And what Haymitch ended up doing was tricking another tribute into throwing an axe at him. And then he dodged it. It went into the chasm, bounced off of the force field, came back and killed the guy who threw it at who threw it at
Damn.
him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Capsule said that he won in a not regular way, so he got chastised for it.
Yeah, I think something like that. Um, like regardless if I don't have the specific details right, either way he did end up using the force field to win his Hunger Games. Um,
Honestly, I thought he just used the force field to throw his opponents into it. That's what I would have done.
but yeah, he ended up becoming an alcoholic. And like there's probably a load of things here like too with him becoming an alcoholic. There's like the PTSD that surely resulted from the games. There's being forced to be a mentor to kids for 23 years afterward and seeing all of them come back dead.
Except
um,
for, well, I was going to say one, but I guess two.
yeah, but then that was the 24th year, so that's why I specified 23 years.
Yeah, that. Actually, how bad it must be for him that he has to. The first time he saw, his, kid coming back alive, only to being shoved back into the fire again.
Yeah, and with the knowledge that you may be shoved back in as well.
Oh, yeah, that. I remember when it was such a powerful scene, only a few seconds long, but during this, when he heard the news, he threw his bottle at the projection, obviously going right through.
Yeah, it's like it, it's rough, and then you have this whole conversation between Haymitch and Katniss, where like it's revealed that Peeta has already been to see him, and that like whoever they call on for the male tribute, the other is going to volunteer because one wants to protect Katniss. Technically, they both want to protect Katniss, but like Katniss wants Peeta to be protected, and the only way he can really be protected is if he's not there.
And I think it was best that Peeta was in the games because I forgot the alcohol's name, but he did all the background work amazingly, by the way.
Indeed, he did. But his name was
Hamish, thank you. Wait, Hamish and what was the other one? The girl.
Which girl?
No,
the main character?
No, the one with Hamish, the getting them ready.
Oh, Effie.
Effie, thank you.
Yeah, she's someone from the capital.
That's what I assumed. Effie, will we see that person again?
Yes, I think, if I remember the movies correctly, but we definitely saw her again in the books.
I wonder, because at one time, she would want to, protect her new friends, but at the other time, she's still working for the capital.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, her character is very interesting to analyze, but more particularly with the books, because they go more in depth, obviously, because they have
are
more time.
allowed to go in more depth, where the movie honestly goes pretty in depth for being a movie.
Yeah, and there's still several layers of social commentary here. Like I was mentioning earlier with the whole peacekeeper aspect, it's one of the things I like to point out too when discussing Avatar. And when you talk about the spirits of Rava and Vatu, and how the Avatar spirit isn't actually a reflection of good, and the show never actually says that. It says that Rava is the spirit of light and peace. And there are lots of evil things that can be done in the name of peace. And you can have an evil avatar. But that's a different series.
Different series, different publication.
Yeah. But the bottom line here is that, peace isn't really an objective good.
I mean, I can't exactly say shooting someone is peaceful. At the same time, the definition of peace, one of the definitions, is literally just no war. And, well, that's what they're doing. No war.
They're trying to prevent a war. But of course, they're not going to be able to do that because District 13 is busy getting involved.
Yeah, everything is set into motion now.
Yeah.
It's the only thing is when.
Yeah, and obviously, there's this reveal, too, at the end of the movie that, the Capitol destroyed District 12. Most of the people made it out and made it to District 13, so that's good, at least. But there were still plenty who died.
I'm sure of that.
And then, of course, we have Peeta, who is stuck in the Capitol. Which is...
Everyone's been saying stuck in the Capitol. Why is he not dead? That's what I want to know.
We'll get that in Mockingjay.
Sure we will.
Part 1.
Ooh, just part 1. How lucky am I?
Yeah. Because they split the third book into 2 parts for the movies. Which
I want to know, do you think was a good idea?
I personally do. I know a lot of fans who don't think it was a good idea.
I guess I'll have to judge that myself.
Now, regarding this movie, I actually I have a hard time deciding whether or not I like it better than the first one or not. Because
Really?
the the first one gets me like more emotional.
Hmm.
Because there's just a lot more emotional depth to it, I feel. Like, obviously, this movie, you deal with complex PTSD a lot more, but I would argue that
I
Katniss already has complex PTSD before she even goes into the arena.
yeah.
Um, but you definitely see it a lot more because, like, I guess the best way to put it would just be that the games made it worse.
Oh, I mean, if nothing else, the games definitely didn't help it.
Yeah.
I love how they showed the PTSD. I
Yeah, they do a really good job at showing PTSD, and thankfully they didn't show like trauma recovery like a certain other movie tried to do.
oh,
A
which one?
movie
Which
that we
one?
will a movie that we will be covering in August, I think. So,
What?
we'll get to that. You'll know what it is when we talk about it.
I just want to know how the hell you're so sure about. Oh, Marvel.
Yeah. There's a certain Marvel movie that shows PTSD really well, but it does not show recovery well at all.
Hmm.
In fact, it kind of is borders on offensive with how poorly it shows
Was
recovery.
it just so quick? It basically, um, they just needed it to be gone.
It was more like they just needed it to be gone, so it's gone now. Pretty
Borderline
much.
offensive, but honestly, I can understand why they would be driven to do something like that because they realized, oh crap, how the hell are we going to deal with this? Why don't we just don't?
Yeah, pretty
Perfect
much.
idea.
And I
Perfect
mean,
idea. I love it.
the movie has tons of problems aside from that as well.
I mean,
Um,
I can do the math and figure out what movie it is, but honestly, I don't care enough.
Yeah. I have a feeling I might make, like, over the course of this podcast, you'll become an MCU fan, but it'll take a while getting there because we aren't even at Avengers yet.
I feel like
And we've,
like when it comes to MCU, there's gonna be some things I like more than others, and I feel like I'm not gonna be with the majority.
well, I mean, like, at this point where we're at now, we've had one great movie, two bad movies, and an okay movie. That's where we're at now with the MCU on this
What was the two
podcast.
bad movies? I'm sorry, I know what. Tell me the not obvious one.
Iron Man 2.
Okay, yeah,
But
you obviously know what I was referencing when I said obvious.
yeah, The Incredible Hulk is obviously bad. It's probably the worst MCU movie, although Eternals was pretty bad too.
So
Uh,
you said, so yeah, Thor is what you meant by okay.
yeah, Thor was just okay.
I prefer that movie. I don't know why. I just do.
You prefer it because Loki's hot.
Hey, Thor's also pretty hot too.
But anyway, also, like I mentioned in our Hunger Games episode, which was episode 14, by the way.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're like in the 30s or 40s now with episodes.
It's honestly hard to
Goodness.
believe that we've been going on for so long.
But yeah, like I said in that episode, we will be seeing Josh Hutchinson again. He's the guy who plays PETA.
Hmm.
In another movie,
Huh.
much, much younger. Um, we're also going to see Jennifer Lawrence again because we are going to be covering the X-Men franchise, and she played a huge role in that. And I mean, really, it's just the Hunger Games and X-Men that Jennifer Lawrence plays huge roles in. Because she's just not known for playing huge roles in general.
I honestly cannot think of a single thing we did not cover in this movie.
What do you mean?
I mean, I think we're almost done.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, do you
There's,
got more points to talk about?
but I do want to circle back to what I was saying earlier about how I think it's hard for me to decide if I like this film more than the first one.
Of course, of
Like,
course.
because like I said, the first film got me more emotional. There are more beats that hit harder for me. Like, Katniss comforting her sister at the very beginning of the movie, the reaping, the whole Rue's death scene, and pretty much the entire friendship between Katniss and Rue in general. Um, like all of that, it's just a much more emotionally driven movie, I feel.
Hmm.
But then at the same time, I think this movie had less questionable directing choices than the first movie did. For one, it got rid of all the shaky cam during the action scenes, which, God, yes, thank you. The movie is better because of that. But at the same time, I question, film critics definitely say that this movie is better than the first one.
I'll.
Meanwhile,
Sorry.
Meanwhile, a lot of fans think the first book was better than the second one.
And it also goes hand in hand with cinematography. Yeah,
Cinematography?
cinematography. Because the shot, especially when the center platform was spinning, those were shot pretty damn well.
Yeah. And I don't know if we mentioned this in the first in our episode on the first movie, but a lot of the actors actually went in training in
Oh damn!
particular combat stuff. You saw characters throwing knives in the first movie, and the actors actually trained to learn how to accurately throw knives.
Okay, so the video we watched, they mentioned it, and I think this is the first time something that they mentioned that I actually had in the back of my head. The frick is up with our main protagonist's quiver.
Yeah, I feel like, to me, it's something that the book, he was saying, in the book, her allies, it painstakingly told every time that they went and collected arrows, whereas the movie cut that out.
I I appreciated that they didn't spend too much time on it, but there was definitely a point where I was like, so is this just a magical quiver that has infinite arrows now?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how the fucking Arrow TV show had more consistency with that than this does. The Arrow TV show makes it very clear that Oliver Queen, who is the Arrow, only has I can't remember if it was 24 or 26 arrows in his quiver.
Yeah, get on Cagnus's level. I mean,
Also,
cat
it's kind of funny
catnip.
too.
I love
This
that.
franchise, this franchise took off in a big way, and a good chunk of the MCU's humor is pop culture references, and the Hunger Games actually does get referenced at one point
That
in the
makes sense.
MCU.
What movie? So I can be looking forward to it.
It's not in a movie.
Oh, TV show.
Mm-hmm.
What TV show?
Hawkeye.
Nice.
But yeah, we will definitely be getting to that in
Why don't you have
3
an
years.
infinite quiver? What? I'm not the main protagonist of freaking Hunger Games.
No, I think it was more I think it was something like, "Hey, look, it's you." No, that's Katniss Everdeen.
I actually kind of like that.
Some something like that. But yeah. So before we get into giving our ratings for this movie, I want to give the critic reviews, or the general scores that it has on the different sites. IMDb has a 7.5. Rotten Tomatoes has 90%. Metacritic has 76%. I think 76% is too low. And then Google users has an 85%, which is pretty low for Google
So,
users.
I wanted to point out. So I was asking Avery to retrieve all of our scores. First of all, Avery joked about the not too much water joke, and then but it made me remind me of something. This movie had a whole lot more water than the first movie.
I mean, yeah,
I don't know why I
it
pointed
did.
that out, but it was funny to me at the time.
So our ratings for the first movie, Lily gave The Hunger Games a 7.8, and I gave it an 8.8. I think I'm going to stick to my score. What about you?
Honestly, I have to rewatch the movie because I think there's a whole lot more subtleties in the first movie that I want to catch out now. As terms for what I said that I'd likely rate it higher, I think I would. I think I would definitely rate it higher if I watch, like, let's say I rewatch the last two movies and then rewatch the entire trilogy front to back again. I think I have a more appreciative understanding of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And as for this rating, I'm going to do it more than what I did. So then this movie, I think I'm going to give it an 8.7.
Yeah, as I was saying, several times throughout this podcast, like I'm torn on whether or not I find this to be a better movie than the first one, which means it's really only fair
Give
to
it the same
give this
rating.
movie this yeah, give this movie the same score. So this movie is also getting an 8.8 from me.
We're around the same score
And
this time.
yeah, we're very close. We've given some movies the exact same score before. I know we did that with The Lightning Thief.
What, a 1.0?
We gave it 1.3. But yeah, I think that's where we sit with this
Why don't I
movie.
give a movie a 6.9?
I think we have.
God, now I have to rewatch
But
all of the podcast
yeah,
episodes just to find it.
it might be nice to have like a table showing what we ranked each movie.
I'll get up to that when I feel like it.
Which is to say never.
Not never. Just maybe next month.
Next year? Got it. But yeah, that's where we sit with this movie. If you are somebody who skipped to the end because you wanted to know what movie we're covering next, go ahead and rewind back to the beginning because we spun the wheel already. We have decided to move it to the beginning of the episodes instead of the end. So you don't have to, skip through all of it and potentially spoil yourself on stuff to
Spoil
figure out
yourself.
what. Shut up, Lily. But yeah. With all that being
My
said,
legs are killing me.
okay, cool. Bye.
Okay. Oh, bye.